Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDO44 sitting in the semi-dark. It's actually not as dark as it looks on this camera, but Bucks did take Game 5, despite not having Giannis tonight at home. And what they got was a lot of fantastic individual performances from their starters. Not a whole lot from their bench, but they didn't need it. When you got Brook Lopez going off for 33 points and 7 rebounds, you got uh, Drew Holiday filling up the box score with like 25 points and 13 assists or something like that. You got uh, Middleton close to a triple double. You got Bobby Portis giving you 22 off the bench, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of production to deal with. And, Atlanta came into this game and they just look outmatched, to be completely honest with you. They did not have Trae Young, and they didn't get as big a play out of their stars. Lou Williams had a pretty good game. Kevin Herter was shooting the ball, but Clint Capella had about 8 rebounds, 6 points, compromised. I told you guys, and I really believe this. I have to see the game, the highlights, because I wasn't able to get a link. That's been a theme for the last couple of days, but I watched as much as I could, and I gathered what I needed to gather from the box score as well as from what I saw. And I'm not going to be watching those highlights because the game was pretty much over at the end of the third quarter, somewhere around there. So, in my opinion, it's not really worth watching at this point for me. But what I will say is what I expected took place for the most part. I figured that the removal of Giannis Antetokounmpo would mean that other players on that Bucks team would step up. But the removal of Giannis Antetokounmpo means that those players would probably have more opportunities to do what they do and to have more traditional style of play from possession to possession to possession. Meaning, you don't have Giannis at the top of the key barreling into the paint. You don't have situations where he's doing his Euro step and guys are watching him in the corner. You don't have situations where they're taking quick shots. Not necessarily quick shots, but like one person's dribbling down the court can jack up a shot and go back the other way with an easy rebound, offensive rebound from Giannis if he could put it back or something like that. It's more of a traditional play because you don't have that athleticism, length, and strength available to you to kind of make it so that other players are not as involved but still successful. Now you guys got Middleton, Holiday, Lopez all taking on bigger roles, and that plays into their strengths because those players should be playing bigger roles. I think this is what I think of the Bucks. Giannis is such a dominant force, but the way that he controls affects the game. Not necessarily controls, that's not what I'm trying to say. The way he affects the game slows it down for not only the opponents but also his own team. He takes like 13 seconds on every free throw. He gets to the line a lot. A lot of what he does, as I said, is him dribbling down the court and barreling into the paint, shooting threes that are clank off. Sometimes he'll go 0 for 5, 0 for 6 on threes, lost possessions. You remove that, and now you got better quality possessions for players who need better quality possessions because that's what their skill set demands. Drew Holiday, he needs more looks, more touches in general. Middleton, same thing, rhythm shooter, more touches in general. Bobby Portis didn't even play at the end of the Nets game, series rather. He needs consistent minutes, at least 23, 25 minutes a night as to where he can give you what you got from him tonight. Brook Lopez has been able to coast over the last several years in different roles that he's been in since he left the Nets. But he's more than capable, as we know, of being a perennial all-star, a scorer who could stretch the floor as well as any center in the league, and somebody who can block shots consistently. Very good at erasing things. He did a lot of that tonight. And he doesn't rebound the ball well, but if you get 7 boards from him, you know he was out there working. That's a damn good thing. So Brook Lopez had the game that he needed to have to help the Bucks get to the game 6 with a 3-2 victory. And really that's what it comes down to. And as I said to you guys, Middleton had an off game in the last game. He's not going to have 2 off games in a row, just like he's not going to have 2 good games in a row. He went off tonight, filled up the box score, almost a triple-double. You have to take your hat off to him, but the problem is now you're expecting him not to play well in Atlanta. Simple as that. And that's why I do believe, ultimately, that the Atlanta Hawks are still very much in this. They laid an egg tonight. And most importantly, they didn't have Trae Young, and I do think he'll probably play Game 6 if he's able to. I thought it was smart of him to sit out Game 5. You don't have your back against the wall yet. Well, now you do, but you've had a day off for rest. If he would have played tonight, gave him a lackluster performance, probably still would have lost because the Bucks barely missed any shots tonight. And ultimately, that would have been to the detriment of his recovery. He missed this game. They got tomorrow off. I think he'll be ready to go in Game 6. I haven't heard anything, but He's gonna play. Leave it at that. He's gonna play. I know he is. I got a weird feeling about that. I haven't heard anything, but he's gonna play. And that's gonna make the difference. I think what we saw out there tonight, to be honest with you, with the highlights that I saw and a little bit of the game that I saw a little bit too much Bogey trying to create for himself. Not enough playmaking there. Lou Williams did have a good game, but what you needed was a little more facilitation out of him, like Trey does. Trey is able to give you a balance of scoring and assists, and that's a little more needed on this Hawks team for guys like Bogey and Herder and Collins. There's guys that need to be set up, and they didn't have their point guard out there tonight, and it hurt them. I know that the Hawks didn't feel like Rondo was the best fit for their team, and everybody loves Lou Williams, and Lou Williams has done some fantastic things in these playoffs. But this is when they need Rondo. This is when the Hawks need Rondo because they need, as I said, someone to set them up. And they didn't have that without Trey tonight. It just simply wasn't there. So, look, I don't know if Clint Capella was compromised or not. He got hit in the eye in that game. I made a big deal out of it. He came back and played. It was nothing. But he did not play his best game this evening, and I felt like he should have been able to pull off a little more out there. I don't know if he got in foul trouble. I saw that he was at limited minutes tonight. He had like 24 minutes or something like that. That's a little limited for him. I personally think he wasn't himself out there. And they're going to need him to be. When the Hawks are at their best, he's getting over 12 rebounds a game. When he's not playing well, he doesn't get a double-double. And that's exactly what he didn't get tonight, a double-double. If the Hawks are going to have any chance of winning Game 6, he has got to bounce back strong, period. If he gives them another 8 and 6, they're going bye-bye. They're not going to be able to make it back to Milwaukee. So that's very important. He has to play better. John Collins, same thing. John Collins played pretty solid, but he didn't give me enough scoring tonight. I needed him and Lou Williams to score more than they were able to this evening. It's Game 5 on the road. John Collins needed to have 30 points tonight, and it just wasn't happening. So it was a lot of stuff on the Hawks side I just felt was lackluster. You look at their box score, it kind of came out, like they were ready for a regular season game. And the Bucks came out like they understood that they had their backs against the wall, basically not expected to win. Superstar MVP candidate out of the game. They came in ready to go. And Giannis' removal played into their hands in terms of being able to have more individually successful performances. So that's what I saw, man. That's what happened. Not a lot of bench play from either team, though. It was a whole lot of starters on both sides, and the Bucks just happened to have much better play out of theirs. So in the next game, series shifts back to Atlanta. Atlanta has it back against the wall, down 3-2. Like I said, I think Trey will be back. And I think you'll see a better Hawks team that plays to the crowd a little better. I think you'll see a worse Middleton because I'm of the firm belief that Middleton doesn't play two good games in a row. And, it's going to be about what happens with Drew Holiday. Are they going to find a way, the Hawks will? Are they going to find a way to slow down Drew Holiday, adjust their defensive game plan to having no Giannis to defend, and kind of make the adjustments necessary to defend this Bucks team? You see what I'm saying? They're an entirely different team without Giannis. And I can argue, in some cases, a better shooting team without Giannis. In fact, it is no argument. They are a better shooting team without Giannis. So, it's weird. It's a weird circumstance here. This is what I always tell people about removing players from lineups. You can remove one or two cogs from a lineup and change the entire team. You remove certain players from the team, and you have to game plan differently, against them. You totally have to game plan differently. And that adjustment is hard. See, that's the name of the game in these playoffs, man. It's about the coaches being able to adjust to things as they happen. Whoever is able to make the best adjustments have been the ones that make it out of these series. And, Nick McMillan has a hard task ahead of him. He has to get his team back on point, believing and confident in themselves, and he has to find a way to now adjust to the defense necessary to win the game. No Giannis means more shooting. What I did see from the Bucks that I thought was really, really solid was their three-point defense this evening. They closed out the three-point shooters very well. And when you're dealing with the Hawks team, that's paramount. You got to rebound well, and you got to close out on a three. And they did a fantastic job of that tonight. I saw their guys. They were contesting just about every three-point shot they had. And it was a good thing to see. On the other side, complete opposite. Um, the Bucks were running plays that were getting open shots in the corner and from straight away. I kept seeing plays being run, and it seemed to be getting those same two spots for their shooters. Middleton was hitting over there. Bobby Portis was able to hit in those areas. Drew Holiday was hitting those areas. It was a reoccurring thing, man. So in your adjustments, if I'm Nate McMillan, I'm definitely trying to figure out how I can take a look at the plays that they continued to run, that continued to work for them, because there was some stuff like that going on, and try to shut those doors off for Game 6. See if they continue to try to run those plays. Especially without Giannis, you tend to want to go to things that work. So what you got to do is find out what is working for the Bucks and stop it, basically. So adjustments. What else did I see? What else was out there? Seeing Cam Reddish in the second night in a row, pretty good. He didn't have the kind of game he had in the last game, but he's a defensive player out there, could shoot the three. He's going to be extremely important at home on Game 6 for the Hawks. And that's that. People got on Stephen A. Smith hard today, saying that he thought the Bucks was going to win this game, because they said without Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Bucks were going to, have no chance. They were going to struggle. But he was saying without Trae Young, he didn't know how the Hawks were going to keep up with the scoring, and he was right. Even though Giannis affects more on the defensive and offensive end than Trae does, when you remove 30 points and 10 assists from the Hawks, those 10 assists, particularly more so even than the scoring, is what they really have a hard time making up with the rest of their roster. As to where Giannis, as I said, you remove him and suddenly they're a better shooting team. They have more cohesive play. They have better pace without Giannis in some ways, because he's not down there shooting 13-second free throws and shit like that. Excuse my language. So, it's one of those things where it's like, even though in theory removing Giannis is the worst thing in the world for the Bucks, what it does is create a monkey wrench for the coach to have to adjust to on the other side. So it's a beautiful thing, man. I know I'm talking in circles, but I do appreciate you guys watching me. What I expect to see from Game 6 is a Hawks win. I don't think the series is over. I don't know that we haven't learned in these playoffs that sometimes it just takes a day for things to fall into place. That's what I'm learning in these playoffs. A game for things to fall into place. In other words, when you see things that need to be adjusted to in these playoffs, and the inevitable idea of what it's going to be, usually doesn't come about till a game after. After the circumstances are arrived. It's like the teams have to see what you already see and then have to adjust to it. That's the theme for me. So what I thought I'd see today is what I think I'll see in Game 6, which is a Hawks team that is able to take advantage of no Giannis by having big play out of their bigs. Onyeka Okongwu, Clint Capella, and of course John Collins are going to rebound the ball better. They're going to dominate offensively by rebounding offensively and putting their shooters in position to get second chance points with that rebounding. That's what I expected to see tonight, or rather that's what should have happened tonight, but they weren't able to pull that off for whatever reason. But I expect, because this is how the theme is, that this is what we'll see in the next game. Lots of rebounding from the Hawks, lots of putbacks, dunks, taking advantage of their size. Bobby Portis played great at home. Lopez played great at home. I don't expect to see them two play that well on the road. I do not. So some people are going to take some steps back, and some guys are going to take some steps forward. I expect to see a much better Bogdanovich at home. I expect to see a very good Kevin Huerter, even though he shot well tonight too. But I expect to see a better him at home. So I think home cooking is exactly what Atlanta needs. I think Giannis not playing on the road is going to be a different situation than him not playing at home, especially with the opponent with their back against the wall. I think the Hawks going to come out, and I think they're going to come out firing. Like I said, Trae Young, I expect to see play, unless there's some setback with his foot or if it's not healing properly. But if it is, he should be able to go Game 6. And I expect a win out of the Hawks. Probably a double-digit win, to be completely honest with you. Obviously, there's more to learn. We'll see what happens over the next several days. If there's any knick-knack injuries, it's going to keep anybody out. Guys coming back early. Giannis was standing on the sideline for most of the fourth quarter. He did not sit down very much at all. That was a very good sign for the Bucks, especially if they're to win this series. I told you guys, I think there's a chance that he could try to really read it if his body allows him to heal. We know he's a superhuman body. He's not like you and me. He may heal quicker. And if that's the case, he may be able to play a little bit. And who knows? If this goes to Game 7, as good as he was looking over there in the sidelines, I don't think it's crazy to think that he might actually try to do it. I don't think it's crazy to think that the organization will allow him to do it, because we know that organizations tend to do that. I don't think it would be the smartest move, but if he's healing and if he feels good, of course you need him out there. So, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the deal is. I've been on the record more than once saying he should get a second opinion on that MRI, and we'll see what happens from here. But I was super encouraged by seeing how good he looked over there on that sideline, just standing around, not even attempting to sit down, it seemed like. So if he's feeling better than he's supposed to be feeling, look out, because the Bucks could win the whole championship. I know a lot of people are shooing the Suns in, but they have zero answer for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Zero. Less of an answer than the Hawks do in some cases. So because they're smaller. They are smaller than the Hawks. So, after you start talking about Ayton, I have some questions about how they're going to guard the bigs on both of those Eastern Conference teams. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Here we are, Game 6. These series, like I said, these weren't going to be no short series. Neither one of these conference finals was going to be short. These are 4 real teams that have a lot of fight, a lot of heart, and good coaching. As you guys know, I'm not the biggest Budenholzer fan, but his unorthodox style is difficult to match up against. And that is what we're seeing Nick McMillan deal with. It's just hard. You don't know what to do with this Bucks team. You just got to hope to God that you press the right buttons in your adjustments and see what happens. So, unfortunately, the adjustments that he made this evening did not account for the individual play of a Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, etc., and they lost. So, here we are. My name is BDF44. Thank you guys for watching me, man. I'm out.